Hello and welcome to the Central Television. I am Lekon Onobanjo. The top stories at this hour. Tens of thousands gather in St. Peter's Square for Pope Francis' historic funeral. 19 killed in Zamfara Gunmen attack amid growing violence from bandit gangs. Tunisia's civil society unites in protest against President Said's controversial rule. Details to come your way shortly. By telling you that a historic farewell unfolded on Saturday in Vatican City as tens of thousands of mourners gathered at St. Peter's Square for the funeral of Pope Francis, the first Latin American leader of the Catholic Church and a tireless advocate for the poor. The beloved pontiff passed away on Monday at the age of 88, bringing to an end a 12-year papacy that many viewed as a turning point towards a more inclusive and compassionate church. Crowds began gathering overnight, with some camping out to secure a place at the solemn ceremony. World leaders, including U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, were among the dignitaries in attendance. Over the past 3 days, more than 250,000 people filed through St. Peter's Basilica to pay their final respects. Today's funeral is expected to draw as many as 200,000 mourners. With over 50 heads of state present, Italian and Vatican authorities launched a large-scale security operation to ensure the smooth running of the emotional farewell to a pope who left a profound and lasting legacy on the global stage. And for more details on this, I'm joined by our international correspondent, Afia Hagen. Afia, thank you so much for staying with us to give us these updates. Now, what's the atmosphere like there in the front of St. Peter's Basilica?
Yes, we are here in St. Peter's Square. Well, lots of people are still gathering. Lots of people are still walking up to the Basilica behind me to see the historic place where the Pope was lying in state. Lots of different groups of people, lots of youth groups around, lots of children, lots of families, lots of people using this as an occasion to come out and be part of history. It really is being part of history, having a front row to history, to be part of Pope Francis's funeral today. Now, he has been buried at St. Mary Major. That's the basilica that he chose, that he should be buried at. And he chose that because of his devotion to the Mother Mary. It was a church that he often went to pray before every journey and after every pilgrimage that he made. He would go back to St. Mary Major to pray. So that's why he has been buried there. His coffin was taken through the streets of Rome in the Pope Mobile, and hundreds of thousands of people turned out and lined the streets to be able to see that historic moment as well. But here in St. Peter's Square, you still have lots of groups, lots of church groups, singing together, gathering together. Earlier on, we saw people crying, people taking communion in the streets as well. It's a somber but also a very celebratory atmosphere because, of course, the funeral today was a celebration of Pope Francis' life.
Now, there's been some side diplomacy going on around the Pope's funeral. What more can you tell us about the ceremony?
Yeah, so the ceremony that took place today at St. Peter's Basilica, 400,000 people turned out. Italian officials have said that was with tight security, 8,000 security officials on the ground, 1,900 of those thought to be in plain clothes. We also had 2,000 particular security officials from the Vatican themselves. You had sharpshooters in the sky. There's snipers all around me. I can't see them, but I know that they're there. And they also had the ability to take out drones flying overhead also. And the service that happened today, you know, a slightly political leaning to that service. You know, the cardinal that took the service talking about Pope Francis's commitment to inclusivity, how his first trip that he took as Pope was to an island in Italy that was housing migrants. And that got a ripple of applause, you know, from the audience that were watching, from people all around St. Peter's Square. And, you know, it was about his commitment to the things he believed in, the environment, to inclusivity, to treating immigrants correctly, the LGBTQ plus community. You know, it really was a service that he would have appreciated because it talked about all the things that he was really passionate about. He was out bringing Catholicism to as many people as possible. That's why he decided to bring in cardinals from all around the world, not just the usual places. He was committed to growing the amount of Catholics around the world, and therefore it's led to Asia and Africa being the continents that have the fastest number growing of Catholics, and we have about 1.3 billion Catholics around the world today.
And does that mean that with these messages coming after his demise, it will be a rallying point for the world powers, the Catholic Church, and of course the people to unite more and preserve his legacy?
It could be. It absolutely could be. Could this be the moment where we see millions and billions of Catholics coming together to promote the messages that Pope Francis was all about? Inclusivity, making sure that everybody can come to Jesus and come to the Catholic Church, looking after this planet that we've been given. Would you like to think that his legacy would be more people attributing to these ideas and believing in the things that he believed in? Could that mean that we could have a pope from Africa or a pope from Asia? Perhaps we will. Remember, he was Pope the First. He was the first pope from the global south, the first pope from Argentina, the first pope that was not brought up in Italy. So yes, we could see his legacy rippling through until the next pope we have.
All right, thank you so much, Afia Hagen, for sharing these updates with us. Now, to further discuss on this, I'm joined by Archbishop Michael Crotty, Apostolic Nuncio to Nigeria. Thank you so much, Bishop Michael, for joining us.
Thank you, thank you for having me.
All right. So how would you describe the life and times of the late Pope Francis?
Well, it was remarkable. In 12 years, he very much brought his own personality to the papacy. As it has already been mentioned, and he was the first pope from outside of Europe, first pope from Argentina. And I think that was truly remarkable. And his personality, he brought his personality to the papacy.
First Latin American leader, how impacting is his demise on the Catholic Church and the community he represents?
Could you repeat the question?
Okay, so I said as the first Latin American leader, how impacting is his demise on the Catholic Church and the community he represents?
Well, I think the Pope represents the whole universal church, not just the Latin America, but his passing certainly brought a great sorrow, a great sense of loss and emptiness. Now we look towards the future. We look to who the next Pope will be. Of course, nobody knows who that will be. It will be a period of prayer and discernment on the part of the cardinals and also on the whole people of God. It is an opportunity at the local level in every parish and every diocese to pray during this period for discernment that the cardinals may choose the right man for the right time. I think it's always been a great blessing, certainly in the modern history of the papacy, that we have been blessed to have received the right pope for the right moment in time. And I think back, for example, we go back to 1939, even in 1914. It's interesting, there were both years when the popes were changed, and they brought a leadership of peace. In the First World War, Pope Benedict XV, and in the Second World War, Pope Pius XII. Both were elected literally at the moment before there were outbreak of war. So, and later still, I think with the other popes, John the 23rd, Pope Paul VI, John Paul II, the Catholic Church has always been blessed that they have chosen popes who were suited for the particular moment in time. And Pope Francis also was brought something new, freshness to the papacy, and we will see what happens. But we need to pray. The choice of a pope depends on the work of God, and we have to invoke God's Holy Spirit to help the cardinals to choose the right candidate for the times in which we live.
You dwell on the late Pope Francis. I'd like to find out, some people would say that he caught a controversial figure in some instances based on his values and beliefs, but then what would you say about his legacies, his ideologies, and how inspiring they have been to people all around the world?
I think first of all, he wanted to be a very a pastoral pope. Sorry. Hello.
Yes, go ahead, Archbishop Michael. Archbishop Michael, if you can hear me. So I was asking that late Pope Francis was someone who has been described by some people as a controversial figure because of his values and his beliefs. But then I'm asking how you would describe his ideologies and how inspiring those ideologies have been to people around the world.
Well, I think ultimately the Pope was a pastor. He wanted to be a shepherd to his people. He wanted to reach out to many people who perhaps felt marginalized from the church, and he wanted to bring them out. I think he's a pastor of the mind of Christ who leaves the 99 sheep and wants to search the lost sheep to bring them back into the fold. I think he was very conscious too of people marginalized, people who were poor. And he's very keen on the issues of world peace, and he brought a lot of that, and also very concerned about the question of migrants, refugees, and maybe in certain quarters that was controversial, because I think ultimately Pope Francis wanted to put the human person at the center of his ministry as Holy Father. And in many, many times people remarked how he touched people's lives by reaching out to people who are particularly in need, and particularly in need of a greater visibility, greater outreach. I think that will be part of his legacy. And it also he personalized really the concern of the teaching of the church. Ultimately, Christ is there to reach out for people who are in need of salvation. That is ultimately the mission of the church, is to bring people closer to God. And I think Pope Francis embodied that. I don't think that's controversial at all, that he should wish to bring people closer to God.
Now, with all the geopolitical tensions that we see, do you think that his death might change global hardliners to eventually embrace his teachings of love, peace, and unity?
You've already seen the images that have been published, the informal meeting that took place between President Trump and President Zelensky inside in St. Peter's Basilica. They're just sitting there, two simple chairs, having a very intense conversation together, and both presidents have issued statements how positive this conversation has gone. And some people are already talking about the diplomacy of a papal funeral. So perhaps that could be a sign of something to come. Please God, let's hope that under the dome of St. Peter's Basilica, at the funeral of Pope Francis, he was already bringing people closer to issues of peace, and particularly with the war in Ukraine. So I hope that would be a positive sign. Please God.
All right, so finally, Archbishop Croce, now, what word of comfort do you have for thousands of mourners all over the world, particularly the Catholic body in Nigeria?
Well, I think the Catholics in Nigeria have been praying, they have been coming to terms with the loss of the Holy Father. Now today we have done the funeral, we have reached a certain stage. Now we look to the future, and we look to the Church getting a new Pope. And I would urge the faithful of Catholics in Nigeria to pray that the cardinals will discern well and would listen to the promptings of the Holy Spirit and choose the right Pope for the times in which we live.
Thank you so much, Archbishop Michael Croce, the Apostolic Nuncio to Nigeria. It was nice talking to you. Let's now go on our short break. When we return, we'll tell you about road accidents that happened in Lagos and bring you all the stories too. Don't go away. Many thanks for staying with us. Now a truck has fallen off the Penn Cinema flyover bridge, crushing two minibuses known as Kurope in the Agege area of Lagos. The accident occurred on Saturday morning along the inward Old Abeokuta Road. The Lagos State Traffic Management Authority confirmed the incident at 8:37 a.m. Emergency responders are currently on site working to manage the situation and maintain order. Motorists are advised to avoid the area and exercise caution. Away from that, tragedy has struck Nigeria's northwestern state of Zamfara, where gunmen have launched a deadly raid on an artisanal gold mining site, leaving at least 19 people dead. The attack occurred around midday on Friday when armed bandits stormed the site, killing 19 individuals, including 5 vigilantes who had been providing security for the miners. A mining official, Yahaya Gobirawa, confirmed that 14 miners were killed instantly, while others later died from their injuries due to severe bleeding. The violence forms a part of a wider pattern of attacks across Zamfara and neighbouring states, where criminal gangs known locally as bandits have continued to terrorize communities. These groups are responsible for widespread violence and a surge in kidnappings throughout the region. In response to the escalating insecurity, the Zamfara state government launched the Zamfara Community Guards last year, deploying over 5,000 personnel in an effort to protect local communities. Relatedly, Nigeria's top military leadership, led by the Minister of Defense, has paid a high-level visit to Borno State to conduct a comprehensive needs assessment of frontline troops battling terrorism. The visit comes amid reports of renewed attacks by remnants of terrorist factions in the region. Meanwhile, Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum has called on the federal government to increase military presence across the state to counter emerging threats. News Central's Morikawa reports.
Nigeria's Minister of Defense, alongside top military chiefs, arrived in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. Facing a resurgence of terrorist attacks in towns and villages, the visit is part of efforts to match words with action towards achieving President Bola Tinubu's campaign promise of renewed hope.
We have been following on the developments already in Borno, and with the team here, our troops are doing wonderfully well to counter whatever threats. But in addition to that, we pay this operational visit to make sure that their plan is on track and is in line with that of the state government.
The Nigerian government continues to battle over a decade of Boko Haram insurgency and other terrorist activities. The Minister of Defense says the government now targets an end these long-standing security challenges by the end of 2025.
Visit to assess our situation and to get briefing from both our team here and the state government, and to see how we can work together to really improve intensively the security situation in Borno with the aim of ending this insurgency by the end of this year.
He notes that the influx of persons into states across the Lake Chad region remains a major challenge to defeating terrorism. Despite the high morale of troops, Borno State Governor Professor Babagana Umar Azulum insists deliberate efforts must be made to provide more equipment and establish new military formations.
We are optimistic that the security situation will be okay very soon. I want to assure you that I'll provide the necessary political will needed and commitment needed to collaborate and support the Nigerian military with a view to ending the insurgency. I believe the Nigerian army will look into the possibility of sending more trained manpower to northeastern Nigeria.
He also urges the federal government to strengthen surveillance and border security, especially across the Sahel region, given the vulnerability of Nigeria's borders and the infiltration of armed groups and weapons. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Still on security matters, Nigeria's Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, has reassured that the Army will safeguard the lives and property of all residents in Plateau State. General Oluyede, represented by the General Officer Commanding 3 Division and Commander Operation Safe Haven, Major General Folusho Oyinlola, was speaking at the commissioning of the Chief of Army Staff's Special Intervention Civil Military Cooperation projects. The project, renovated male and female wards of the Langtan General Hospital, is an initiative to reinforce public support, deepen cooperation, and sustain the harmonious relationship between the Army and the civilian populace.
Provided by the Nigerian Army is a way of honoring our senior officers who have served with distinction. Major General Yahaya is a shining example of this legacy, and we are proud to carry forward this commitment to the community. I call upon the people of Plateau State to continue to support the Nigerian Army and all security agencies as we work together to eliminate criminal elements from our beloved state, Plateau.
The choice of this general hospital's male and female wards was as a result of the vital role healthcare plays in enhancing community health and ensuring access to quality care. It creates safer, hygienic environment, reducing the risk of infection and promoting patient recovery.
The renovation and equipping of the male and female wards of General Hospital Langtan North by the Nigerian Army is a shining example of what can be achieved when security agencies go beyond the core mandate to touch lives and strengthen the fabric of society.
It's pride for me. I am really happy. I won't tell you lie. Very excited, and glory be to God. And I pray God that the Army will come and do more things within the hospital or healthcare centers where the ordinary man and woman will benefit.
Away from security to politics now. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has launched a fierce criticism of President Bola Tinubu's administration, saying it has failed to meet the expectations of Nigerians and has no tangible achievements to justify a re-election bid in 2027. Speaking on the state of the nation, Atiku described the 2027 election as a battle between the Nigerian people and what he termed a non-performing government. The former vice president also addressed the recent wave of political defections, including Wednesday's high-profile switches by Delta State Governor Sheriff Oberewori and his predecessor Ifeanyi Okowa, both of whom left the People's Democratic Party for the ruling All Progressives Congress. Atiku stressed that he harbors no ill will towards those making such moves, emphasizing that freedom of association remains a cornerstone of any true democracy. He also pushed back against criticism of his recent visit to former President Muhammad Buhari, labeling the backlash as hypocritical and indicative of selective outrage. Away from that, now the federal government says it is commencing efforts aimed at empowering young Nigerians with the launch of a new Teenage Talent Hunt initiative. The Minister of Youth Development, Ayodele Olawande, made this known during the official flag-off ceremony of the program in Abuja, saying that the initiative will engage teenagers from across the country, helping to drive content development, talent scouting, and nationwide outreach with a strong focus on inclusivity and broad participation.
Represent our commitment to empower the young people with and engage them by creating platforms that discover and grow their talents. The initiative agrees with our visions to engage young people in meaningful and impactful way. I am therefore happy to tell you that we are doing this to create a meaningful and a reality show that respects our value and culture as a country.
A program designed to assess the intelligent quotient, emotional quotient, and social quotient of our teenagers that are in SS3 and those yet to be admitted into the university. They will be engaging in quiz competition, essay writing, poetry, cookout show, cooking Nigerian delicacies, cultural dance, beauty pageantry, showcasing the diverse cultures.
Away from that, it is sharing news. The Baramatu Kingdom in Delta State has been immersed in festivities commemorating the Amasikoma Festival in Okporosa. The Amasikoma Festival is a revered 7-day heritage celebration held annually by the Jaws of Baramatu Kingdom in Warri's Southwest local government area. Now, the Central's Biola Festus reports.
For 1 week, the people of Baramatu Kingdom gathered daily at the Okporosa Royal Pavilion to celebrate the Amasikoma Festival, an ancient ceremony dating back to 14 AD. According to long-standing tradition and belief, the Amasikoma Festival, the most revered cultural event of the Baramatu people, is a season of revival, prosperity, and blessings.
It's very significant in the sense that it ushers a traditional new year, a period of sober reflection, of spiritual reflection, of spiritual cleansing.
We always stress hand of fellowship to other kingdoms in maintaining peace. So our prayers to Niger Delta and the kingdom as a whole, the country as a whole, and to the president, we want to say, let the blessings of Amasikoma begin to go round.
It is a season eagerly anticipated by every indigene of Baramatu, serving as a platform for the Ijaw people to reconnect and celebrate their identity. Culture not only unites a people, but also serves as a marker of their identity, reflecting their unique heritage, traditions, and values.
I encourage every culture to do things like this. Is so beautiful, it's so fantastic. It's all like, I cannot just imagine what I'm seeing here today. Just the thing of joy to see the unity happening here, see a culture come together and express themselves in their way, in their culture. And I can see me, I'm trying one of their rappers already.
At the end of the 7 days, the royal father, King Oborogbaraun II, proclaims blessing upon the people, signaling the closure of the festival.
The Amasikoma anniversary is a shower of blessings, and we pray for everybody that it should be as a rain shower to everybody for a blessings that you will carry home.
It is believed that the blessings pronounced during the festival are sufficient to sustain the people until the next commemoration. In Delta for News Central, Biola Festus.
We'll go on a break on the news. When we return, we'll tell you about the Tunisian President Kais Saied, who faces backlash over a police state that has been demonstrated against by the people in the country. Just stay with us, we'll tell you more. In northern Africa, more than 2,000 people gathered in central Tunis on Friday, protesting against President Kais Saied's government and demanding the release of a prominent human rights lawyer recently imprisoned. The protest, held near the headquarters of the National Syndicate of Tunisian Journalists, saw demonstrators denouncing what they called a police state. Chants of dictator and tyrants echoed through the streets as protesters rallied for justice and freedoms they claim had been eroded under Saied's rule. The demonstration comes just days after lawyer Ahmed Souab was arrested on terrorism-related charges. Souab, a vocal critic of Tunisia's judiciary, had accused judges of facing political pressure to impose harsh sentences in a recent mass trial of opposition figures. Friday's rally drew a broad coalition of supporters, including young activists, lawyers, artists, civil society leaders, and families of those currently facing prosecution. Many fear that Tunisia's hard-won civil liberties are now under serious threat. Since President Kais Saied's power grab in July 2021, when he dissolved parliament and began ruling by decree, rights groups have repeatedly warned of a sharp decline in Tunisia's democracy. In Burkina Faso, western part of Africa, the ruling military junta has granted a new industrial gold mining license to the Russian company North Gold, further deepening economic ties between the two countries. According to official records from a recent cabinet meeting, the Council of Ministers approved the permits for the development of the new gold mine. The project spans nearly 53 square kilometers and is expected to yield over 20 tons of gold across an 8-year period. Government documents estimate the mine will contribute about $88.7 million to the national budget. About $12.2 million is earmarked for Burkina Faso's Mining Development Fund. And gold is a major driver of the nation's economy, accounting for around 14% of state revenue. The move comes as Burkina Faso continues to strengthen diplomatic and military relations with Russia. And now we turn our attention to Lesotho, a landlocked country perched high in the mountains of southern Africa, often called the kingdom in the sky. Now, Lesotho boasts a unique culture, a rich and fascinating history, and breathtaking scenery, reflecting the resilience and diversity of its people. However, its economy remains heavily dependent on agriculture, textiles, and the informal sector, which form the backbone of livelihoods for many in Lesotho. Like many other nations, Lesotho faces significant economic challenges that continue to affect its development. The Central's correspondent, Bongani Siziba, tells us more.
Thank you for having me. I'm coming to you live from the busy streets of Maseru, that is the capital city of Lesotho. Now I'll just ask my colleague Sponelo Mkasibe just to pan around and show you, as you can see, that this is a country where many citizens rely on informal trading. Every day they rise early to take up to the streets, a vital source of income for them. And this is how most of these families sustain their livelihoods. And here there are no jobs in Lesotho, where the unemployment rate at 38%. And while we're still on it, there's also a significant issue that might also be affecting Basotho if implemented, the 50% tariff by the US President Donald Trump. But how will this affect those that are employed, especially those that are in the textile industry, as it plays a role in the Lesotho economy? Do the Basotho citizens know or understand the implications of these tariffs? If they do, how will they impact their daily lives? And also, while we're still on it, we know that President Trump's remarks regarding Lesotho have sparked so much conversation. He suggested that Lesotho is a nation that is unknown to many. Is this true? Let's find out to some of the locals that are here. Donald Trump said that Lesotho is a country that is unknown. What do you have to say about that?
I'm very disappointed in Mr. Trump, indeed, because as Basotho, we are still a poor nation, you know. So we expect countries like US to benefit from them, not to mock us. So yeah, I feel like he undermines us as Basotho. So.
And do you also know about the tariffs, if implemented, 50%, if it's implemented, how is it going to affect daily lives of Basotho, and especially those that work in the textile industry? Because we know that U.S. imports from Lesotho. Lesotho is also export to U.S. and other countries.
Yes, I heard about the tariffs that U.S. is charging Lesotho. 50% of the tariffs, more than any other country or continent in the world. So as Basotho, like I said, we are already poor. So I think some of our citizens, if the tariffs are high in that percent, they are going to lose some jobs. Our sisters, brothers, yeah, they are going to lose a lot of jobs. So I think it's going to affect us mostly.
Okay, let me just try to grab someone else again to hear their views. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Your views if tariffs are imposed by the U.S. President Donald Trump?
If the tariffs are to be imposed, that is going to affect us very negatively. It is going to have a ripple effect on our economy, from the street vendors that are working near the factories, the transport industry, the logistics industry, the rental property for Basotho that houses many of the factory workers, because most of them, they are from other districts. So it is not going to do us well.
Another question, Trump saying that Lesotho is an unknown country. How have the citizens responded to that?
There have been mixed bag reaction on that. Some have even tried to portray Lesotho's beauty, the tourism, what it can offer, because even Donald Trump, he has got a T-shirt, the golf T-shirt that is manufactured in Lesotho. So, and Lesotho has got a long history relationship with the U.S. There are Peace Corps here. Just last year, Lesotho signed qualified for the second compact of the Millennium Challenge account, although its future is also uncertain at the moment. Yes.
We just heard it there from some of the citizens of Lesotho, and what Lesotho can offer, especially about those remarks by Donald Trump that Lesotho cannot offer anything, but they are saying that Lesotho has a lot to offer. As we have seen that most Basotho depend on informal trade. You see that in the streets of Lesotho, they are there pegged, selling different kinds of things so that they can sustain their families. But for now, it's back to you in the studio. We'll continue to bring you stories from Lesotho.
Thank you so much, Abongani, for that fantastic report. Earlier on the news, we told you that a truck fell off the Penn Cinema flyover bridge in Lagos State, crushing 2 minibuses in the Agege axis of Lagos State. Now, the accident occurred Saturday morning along the inward Old Abeokuta Road, and we understand that the Lagos State Traffic Management Authority confirmed the incident around 8:37 a.m. And now to further give us updates as regards that particular accident, I have with me in the studios our news correspondent, Idalani Omoniyi. Now, thank you so much for coming around, Niyi. Let's have an understanding of what actually caused that accident.
Thank you for having me, Leighton. So, as we would usually have it for most of these articulated trucks, this time is not any different. Mechanical issues, as the case will be, and as eyewitnesses have said it, the truck lost control after having brake failure over the bridge, and in maneuver tried to, stop or halt the truck, as the case would be. but he could not. The eyewitness say the truck was hanging over the bridge for about a minute before it eventually fell. Luckily, the minibus driver that saw the truck ahead and, of course, fled his minibus noted that he had just released his passengers few meters away from there. This will have been a disaster because we know how choked a minibus could be, and before everyone starts running for safety from a minibus, we would have been talking about fatalities here. And that's why in this case, we don't have any sort of fatalities, as the case would be.
Well, that's quite serious. I hope there are no casualties.
Not at all, not at all, not at all. Just the driver, the truck driver himself, sustained some sort of dislocation, and he has been rushed to the nearest hospital, I believe, Ilekpo Hospital, just around Agege there, according to eyewitnesses.
Now, I may understand that the incident was clocked in by the Lagos State Traffic Management Authority around 8:37 a.m. I would like to, let's stay on this. When we go on the break and we come back, you tell us if the situation had actually been dealt with and if that particular truck had been taken off the road. But then when we go on the break and return, we'll conclude on this. Well, before going on that break, we talked about the truck that fell off the Penn Cinema flyover bridge in the Agege axis of Lagos State. Well, that is the conversation that we're bringing to perspective at this particular time, even as we have our news correspondent, Ibalani Omoniyi, share the details with us. Now, Ibalani, as I was saying earlier, this particular incident was clocked in around 8:37 a.m. as the truck being lifted from the road to ease traffic as of now.
Yeah, the truck served as also a container, so it had some things in it. And as at the time we were leaving, yes, the truck had been evacuated. However, what it contained, the content of the truck was moved to a side of the road so as to ease traffic situation. And it's good to state on record here that one minibus was actually what was really affected. The other minibus escaped without any form of clash or crash, if I could put it that way. But you can see it's just one minibus we saw there at the time, totally affected, damaged by the collision, or I could say the drop, the crash from the bridge, because from the visuals you can tell how high that particular bridge is. That fall is a very, very big fall, and those are the visuals there.
Wow.
The Lagos State Management Authority, the response units were the first responders on ground, and they did their best to try to salvage the situation, clear the goods, as you can see over there. And some people, bystanders, the police was also on ground to help them evacuate the thing and make sure that there's ease of traffic. And that's the truck that the driver was actually driving at the time. So you can see the fall, the impact from that particular height. His hands were certainly the ones that were majorly hit, and that's why there was some sort of dislocation and his folder. But of course, he has been rushed to the general hospital close by there, and hopefully he is safe. But as for now, that's the situation, and this brings to the four major incidents that we speak about as regards mechanical failures when we have to do with articulated trucks. We know there was one that happened around the Tedela Bridge, was also caused by mechanical failure of an articulated trucks. And I think it's high time the governments at both the states and federal levels starts doing something very, very drastic. It's imperative for us to do something at this point.
And of course, it brings to the fore the claim or the clamor for the roadworthiness test for these trucks and for the fact that they should move in the middle of the night to actually avoid casualties. But then thank you so much, Ibalani Omoniyi, for sharing these updates with us.
Thank you for having me.
And that's it at this hour on the news. But before we go, we look at our top stories again. Tens of thousands gather in St. Peter's Square for Pope Francis' historic funeral. 19 killed in Zamfara Goldmine attack amid growing violence from bandit gangs. We also told you that Tunisia's civil society united in protest against President Said's controversial rule. Or you can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. And don't forget to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can equally watch us live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, including Arvo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Onabanjo.